The market is at an all-time high, but let's get away from the market and let's talk about your biggest investment in real estate, the home that you live in, the opportunities that exist in the real estate market right now. Gary, there's not a better person to have in the seat that you're in right now to talk about this. So let's start broad. What are you seeing on a day-to-day basis here in San Diego of the real estate market, March 5th, 2014?
Okay, well, there's a shortage of inventory.
Yep.
And recently, maybe it might be changing, but it's been one of those hot markets. You put a home up for sale, you get 3 or 5 offers in a couple of days. I might be seeing it starting to flatten a little bit, but it's early, so that's a maybe.
So what do you mean by flatten exactly?
Meaning getting to equilibrium.
Okay.
Maybe not quite there, but these are small samples. I'll put up a home for sale that I'm expecting to get 3 offers in 2 days, but it takes a week to get 1 offer, something like that. So, but it's early.
And by the way, if you want to see any of the properties that Gary has, his listings, he controls a lot of inventory. Go to GaryKent.com. So last year was kind of the year of the investor, and yes, you still had the low inventory then, and there's really heated cash buyers coming in. But it seems like the investors faded out a little bit. There's less margin for profit there. And you still have the low inventory. So the first-time home buyer, the move-up buyer, seems a little bit slower moving. There's not as many people moving into this market to buy first quarter as I really expected, certainly with low interest rates where they are right now.
Right.
So what do you think happens second quarter? We're almost done with first.
What happened second quarter?
And I know you brought your crystal ball in here,
yes,
so I'm going to ask you. This
exactly.
is the point in time I ask you to pull it out. Let's look at the crystal ball. And Todd, could you please save this recording? Because if he isn't exactly right, we're going to hold it against him. Now, just what are your best thoughts?
Okay, I think that we'll see some flattening of appreciation.
Okay.
And interest rates, if you look at the Freddie Mac is predicting rates to go up about 1 to 0.2% per quarter.
Mm-hmm.
So as rates go up, even though they're still crazy low rates, I'm hearing people saying, oh my gosh, the rates are like into the mid to high 4s. It's awful.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I mean, how have we become so desensitized to low interest rates? I remember back in 2001, I ran a really big residential mortgage banking firm, and I'll never forget, every day you get rate sheets from wholesale lenders. So we had this big company, we had 300 people in it, and every day we'd get these sheets from some of these different banks, and there was a range of pricing at the time. Now, a lot of the financial regulations changed the way that rates work, but there's a top and bottom. The top would be a no-cost loan. The bottom would be if you're buying points, things like that. And I'll never forget when it went from 7% to 6.875, and people went nuts in our office. And that was a 6.875. I remember that day very distinctly because, of course, everybody hits the phones telling you to refinance.
Right.
Now, rates went up from 3.5 to 4.25, and no one seems to care. No one really seems like. 1989. We're on the TV show this weekend. We actually have a slide that we're going to be showing. And in 1989, where interest rates were at 10%, just the affordability index, you can almost afford way more now. Not way more, but because prices have gone up so much, but very close.
Yeah, because
of low rates.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really incredible how much you can afford.
So what do you tell people now, Gary, that ask you, is it time to buy now? What do you tell them?
Well, first of all, I try not to be the stereotypical realtor that says it's a great time to buy and sell.
It's always a good time to buy, and it's always a good time to sell. And use me. My name's Gary Kent.
Yeah. So I think it's a good time to buy, right? Because if rates go up 0.5% in 6 months, people are going to look back and say, darn it, I should have bought. Yeah. So is it a fantastic time to buy? I don't think so, but I think it's a good time.
Okay.
It's not as good as it was last year,
right?
Before prices went up 20%. I was looking at an article here on Yahoo Finance. It's the 10 cities where ordinary people can no longer afford homes. And at the top of the food chain is San Fran, then San Jose, then LA, then San Diego was number 4. And, I look at that and I think about that article. You got to remember, you got to live somewhere. On last night's show, we asked our listeners to send a text message. We said, text in what you're paying in rent, and we're going to compare a renting versus owning analysis. We must have got 7 or 8 of these things, $2,800, $2,500, $3,000, $1,500, then somewhere a bunch in the mid-2s. Every single one of those is already stroking the check every month, so obviously you can afford the rent payment. The question is, if you qualify, which, you have to go through the mortgage process as well, if you can qualify, you're already making the payment, except when you make a payment for $3,000 on a mortgage, let's call that a hypothetically, I don't have a calculator here in front of me, but a $600,000 house, right? Well, that $3,000 is paying down principal. You're going to get tax advantages. If property values go up, again, crystal ball, Gary, 3%, 5%. I mean, are we fair here in San Diego? I know all housing markets are local. You got different markets, but
yeah, I'd say 3 to 5 is probably a fairly safe estimate.
Let's call it 3
Mm-hmm.
on a $600,000 house where you're paying similar to what you would pay in rent. Goes up 3% a year. You're getting $18,000 a year in equity. Plus, you're paying down that loan.
Yeah.
Plus, you're getting thousands of dollars back at the end of the year. And you know, I know we talk a lot about numbers, but let's not forget, you live there. It's a home. You build memories. So I personally, if you ask me that question, I do think it's a good time to buy. It's not the greatest time, but if property values are going up and you got to live somewhere, unless you're willing to move into a teepee or wigwam, people are going to be buying homes. People are going to keep moving to San Diego. There's limited growth space. You can only invent so much dirt. So I think property value is going to continue to go up. Let's go to the other side of the equation, though, Gary. Selling real estate right now. So
Yes.
on buying, you said it looks good. Lukewarm, though. Probably you were very energetic around it this year, last year, this time. Why they even let me host a show anymore? What about selling, though? What do you think there?
It's still a good time to sell, and you may not get 5 offers in 2 days, but the odds are if you price it correctly and you have a good agent, you're going to sell your house in 30 days, maybe 2 weeks, could be 2 days.
What about the higher end stuff? You do a lot of business out in La Jolla, right?
Yes.
What's going on out there?
It's still also a shortage of inventory there.
Yeah. But what I mean is as far as the activity, when you have $1 million, $2 million property, even though there's a shortage of inventory, who's coming in buying those properties? Are you still seeing cash buyers? I mean, if someone were to put their home on the market out there, would they expect it to sit out there for a while?
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd say if they price it right, good agent. In La Jolla, probably sell within 60 days.
Really? Within 60 days?
I just had a client today. She's paying $4,400 in rent a month.
$4,400 a month in rent.
$4,400.
Wow.
How is her finance? Well, real quick, if you are buying or selling, look, every single situation is different, right? So as much as we want to give predictions, we're not like the rest of the media. We're just trying to, sensationalize some point and get heads to turn. We really want to give you accurate, objective advice here, and it depends on your goals, your short and long-term goals. If you need advice on any of this stuff, Gary Kent is definitely a guy you should call. You've probably heard the name before. He's done really well in San Diego for many years. Go to GaryKent.com. So you had a client.
$4,400.
Now, quick reminder, Aran Sinai is our credit expert, helps people get their credit scores up, protect from identity theft. So someone was probably coming to you for that.
Yeah, exactly, because she wants to buy a house, but she can't because her credit is not good, right? So we talk about it. Can she afford it? Yes.
But the
Credit is a
credit's not
problem.
there.
I said, look, I got to put you in touch with my team. They'll do an analysis. It's insane. Even though the landlord, let's say, want 1.2 for the house, still, you got to work it out. It's possible. It's an incredible place.
$4,400 a month.
A month.
I mean, you're talking a
No write-offs.
big house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not as
Paying
big
your landlord's
as,
mortgage.
neighborhood-wise and all that stuff.
Yeah. Tell some good credit stuff. You always got good stories. What are the credit bureaus doing now to hold people down?
Biggest thing, everything today, they are now fully automated. Okay? Everything
Fully.
goes OCR
So
system.
now they have machines that throw your dispute letters in the trash.
Yes, it's so ridiculous. It's called OCR, Optical Character Recognition Software.
I know what this is.
You know what? So they get those 1.5 million letters a day. The machine cuts them open. It goes to the machine and it scans it in, picks up the word, codes it. So everything is by code. It codes it to then dispute it, validate it, send it back. I had a client who really was not late, not you, who really was.
I have great credit. I just had a parking ticket
Right.
the city of San Diego can send to collections, which I could take the rest of the show and talk how that's wrong. Right now, there's somebody who's not able to buy a house because they didn't have a quarter in their pocket when they're at a San Diego
How many
meter.
of those I see?
Anyway.
Yeah.
They
Anyway,
should not be able to send parking tickets to collections. You pay them when you register your car.
That's right. Crazy. So anyway, he closed his card, paid off his card. The bank, okay, what they did, somebody made a mistake and there was $6 left in interest, whatever they did.
Yep.
Wrong. The bank was wrong, okay? Wanted to refi, okay? and came to refi and it's like, oh my God, I have 90 days late.
Oh my.
Yep.
Can't refi for $6 that it's not even there. He called, we have a certified check to show that he paid it off with a letter from the bank how much the payoff is. So he has no credit card debt, right?
Yep.
So anyway, we send it to the bureaus with all the letters. I get it back like in a week saying verified, we're not going to do it. I send the letter to the executive office, FIA, BOA, that's owned by BOA, right? Bank of America. In about 2 weeks later, I get a letter from the bank. They will remove that, which is great.
Yeah.
But the bureaus, that's just to show, what are the bureaus doing? Who are they talking to? If I got it removed with the bank said I'd remove it. The bureaus just returned and said, verified, sorry, it's not going to go away.
Yeah, I love helping people with credit because I feel like it's an uphill battle. I mean, you just described how they get 1 million letters,
A day.
a day? That's insane.
A day.
A day that are automatically recognized by these computer programs, basically throw it in the trash, more or less, because they don't care to do anything about it unless you get an attorney on your side. I love helping people with this. We get a lot of people that go online. Don't forget, if you have any questions about real estate, credit, anything like that, craigsewing.com. We got the contact form. I'll respond before the end of the evening if you go there today. Credit scores, collections, any issues. I'm going to usually facilitate an introduction to Iran, craigsewing.com. Let me remind you as well, I built a credit company years ago. I know the space really well. I know everything you could possibly know about credit. But when it comes to getting it improved, I don't know anyone that comes anywhere close to the results I've seen with Iran and protecting people from identity
guy that you
theft.
sent, I got to tell you, a guy that you sent had, same thing, came to you guys to refi, couldn't refi because he had a 60-day late from a student loan. It was only charging him like $30-some a month. The whole problem was that they assigned the note to another company, but never told him. And he had automatic deduction, and he didn't know. $30 a month. Would you pay attention? Some people don't pay attention. Right? Went to refi, cannot, 60 days late. Ran and paid it and switched the automatic deduction. He sent it to the bureaus, everything disputes, nothing helped. You got to get in as a law office here.
Yeah.
And say there's laws about assignment of debt. They need to inform the person about the new assignor and all that. The bureaus don't give a you know what.
Yep, they
Just
don't.
goes by the sideline and nothing happens.
So I got a question for you. So a lot of people went through the short sale market the last few years, foreclosures as well. Gary, you helped a lot of people through that situation. How have you guys seen the recovery of those people that short sold from, call it 2008 to 2011 or so? Start with you, Gary.
Well, the foreclosures, people who've had foreclosures still have, trouble getting a loan, but
Yeah.
I think, Ron, you can help them with that. And then short sales, after a couple of 3 years, unless they have some help from you, they're able to get a mortgage.
So people are starting to reach out.
Yes.
We heard a story recently. A guy went online with us, and he's trying to buy a house in the same neighborhood that he short sold in. But at a significantly reduced value because
Right.
It's funny.
Look, and that's the thing, and we were given that advice throughout those years that never ever foreclose. The foreclosure is what can really damage you credit-wise.
Yep.
And the short sale is something that you actually have a speedy recovery. 2 years, you can get back into a house, sometimes less in certain cases. Now, another interesting question we got from craigsewing.com the other day, I forwarded over to you, Iran. He was asking me, he said, I have 750 credit, but I have these different open lines of credit.
Right.
And I'm just trying to simplify it. I don't have any debt on these cards, but I don't want to have this many cards, but I don't want to cut up the cards because I have the history. And I said, what? I'm actually in the same exact position as you. I'm debt free and I have some of these cards. He actually had a Target card, and he said that would be a good example. How did you go on and advise him?
What I told him is we need to see, because there are a few factors when credit is how long have you had the history is 15% of your score, and then what type of card it is, what is your credit limit, okay? So usually I tell people, look, no more than 2 to 3 tops credit cards. So we got to go back to see which are the cards with the longest history with the highest balances, because then we want to close them. Now I told him, look, short term, it's going to hurt you a little bit, but long term, it's going to go back up. So
Interesting.
you got to look at the highest balance, longest history. And what I tell people that they're building the credit, as long as you talk about it, because I had a few clients like that today. Believe it or not, getting a secured card is great. However, it can hurt you, because once your credit is recovered or your credit is not good, they look at secured card as not good credit. not derogatory, but it's not a great factor to build your credit. Even people get it quickly. Premier First, although it's Premier Card, they are subprime lending credit card companies.
Yep.
Other people that look at your credit know that. So I said, if you have to do that, maybe go on Capital One because they have those subprime divisions, but they won't be able to identify to know that it's a subprime one rather than the Premier card.
Yeah, I'm learning
All those
a lot.
little tips.
Yeah, we get.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, you do with Iran because there's no. You didn't learn about it in high school or college. There's not really anything you can go. Well, you can go online, but you can't learn anything accurate. What is the credit bureau's own free creditreport.com?
Yeah, every credit bureau has their own sites. You know,
And freecreditreport.com, free credit score. What is it?
yeah, creditscore.com is also owned by Experian.
I mean, that's
Experian
crazy.
own that. They own Credit Check Total. TransUnion owns TrueCredit.com. So each one of them has.
That's why we got you on the team. Aran Sinai, our credit expert. If you have any questions, go to craigsewing.com. Love to help you this evening. Gary Kent here with us as well. He sold almost 5,000 homes. Voted #1 best agent north of the 8 freeway by a Union Tribune poll. #1 in the county 10 times for 2 previous national firms.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got a
that's
heck of a
incredible.
Well, people know Gary Kent. Gary Kent is a very popular name here in San Diego real estate, and you're going to come in here and talk about some of the things that you could also find online that might not be the best sources.
Yes.
So on the real estate
absolutely.
side. So what do you got?
You know, it's great that people will do a lot of research online, and then we have to kind of debrief them after they've done that because a lot of information is inaccurate. I probably shouldn't name any specific websites, but there's a certain website. That
Zillow?
That's you. I didn't say anything.
Real quick about this internet thing. Do you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? Wrote the book Crush It.
Yes.
He was putting out a video. I watched it the other day, and I don't know what the survey or study was. So if there's an inaccuracy, I apologize. This is just what I was watching. And he's speaking on stage to several thousand people. And he said that studies show in 48 hours, there's more content created online than in every other medium in the history of mankind up until 2010.
Wow.
In 2 days, more gets created every 2 days than in the history of mankind online. So how much misinformation do you think's out there? So go ahead. Sorry, I just want to put things in perspective.
Sure. So a lot of people will go to a website you mentioned perhaps to look up the value of their home. A fellow who works for me, he looked up, this is just for grins because we agents know that that's not accurate. One website that everybody's heard of, okay, it's Zillow.
He gave up.
If you heard the first half of this show, Gary, you know you don't have to be politically correct around here. But go ahead.
They had his home pegged at $1.27 million, and then he went to another site, ePraisal.com, said his home was worth $549.
Okay.
Now the truth is, it's somewhere in the middle, but it just tells you cannot.
It's an
go
online
by
source.
this.
What can they really find out? You know, here's another thing about Zillow. Now they're starting to give out production numbers of agents. What do you think of that? Have you seen that?
Okay, for selfish reasons, I don't mind.
Yeah,
right? But a
good
lot
point.
of agents are unhappy about that.
Yeah, I've heard that before. So guys like Gary don't care because it shows that he's crushing his competition versus, you know, there's 17,000 real estate licenses in San Diego. I'm sure 15,000 of them have a problem with that. But go ahead.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I don't mind that at all. Now, there's a few other things online. In fact, there's a lot of things that people will find that are not accurate or things that they should know. For example, when you go on these sites and you look up a house, you'll see typically the photo of 1 or maybe 3 agents next to it, and you go, oh, okay, these are the agents that have this house for sale. No, those are the agents that advertise they have their photo there. They typically almost certainly know nothing about the house, have never seen it, never been inside.
It's incredible.
But it looks like they're the agents handling the house. So you don't want to do that. And then a lot of these sites also have homes that are quote unquote for sale, but they're not for sale. They're perhaps short sales that are already in escrow. A lot of other homes that are in foreclosure that are not for sale, but will show up on these websites. So you can't really depend on those.
So inaccuracy online. Anything else that we got to be careful of?
Oh, there's plenty. How much time do we have? An hour?
Keep going.
2
I'll cut you out.
Okay. And let's see. There's also kind of a myth that people will go to different websites. Okay, they'll go to Zillow, and then they'll go to Truly, and then they'll go to some other website saying, well, I want to find another house because I haven't found the house that I want on this website. Well, the truth is the homes that are for sale, that are legitimately for sale, are on all those sites. if you find a home on one of those sites that isn't on another one, it's probably not actually for sale.
Now, why is that?
Well, the multiple listing service data from most agents will go to those sites. So, and it just goes to all those sites.
Yep.
So if you find a house that's on Zillow but not Trulia, it's probably not actually for sale. It's probably a short sale that's in escrow, but Zillow or Trulia or someone is showing it as for sale. I had a client, we actually listed their house for sale because they said, we found a house in Chula Vista we want to buy for sure, and let's get our house on the market. And then I looked up the house and said, that house is not for sale.
Let me ask you this, Gary. Do people give you a lot of pushback when you try and educate them? Because I know that there's a delicacy to, I know you saw this online, and you can see stuff on the news and it's not accurate. So obviously you find something online, it might not be. Do you get a lot of pushback with people, and how do you handle that? I mean, how do you really address that those things aren't right?
Well, I don't get as much actual pushback as I used to. However, people will say something like, oh, yeah, I know, I've heard that, but they're still sort of stuck on that number anyway. You know, there's the logic and the emotion, and they like the high number. And it's not always high, but it usually tends to be high. You
know, the best thing I think that Gary Kent said here today when we asked him about, is this a good market to buy? He said that I'm not going to be an agent that typically says it's makes sense to buy and it makes sense to sell. Use me, Gary Kent. I appreciate you coming out and saying that. But I think when you look at all the information out there and the misinformation and the access to social media and YouTube and Google, look, the most important thing you can do is align with a professional you can trust. A guy like Gary Kent with his team, they've done over 5,000 deals. I just encourage you to align with someone who you can trust and let him do his job so you can get back to doing yours. Gary, thanks for coming in here, helping us with the real estate market and understand what's going on with people's biggest investment, GaryKent.com. Iran, you got something wise in parting here? Give us some knowledge here, Iran.
ID theft. We're coming out with an amazing ability to people to watch the credit, monitoring. Stay tuned. It's going to be huge. We're going to crush them all with that. It's going to be huge. And quick disclosure, everything I said about the credit company, don't quote it. It's my opinion from what I know.
Everything
don't want anybody suing me for,
it's all
my opinion.
It's all our opinion on the show, and I appreciate you putting that disclaimer out there. If you have any credit questions and you want to get some advice from Iran, just visit me at craigsewing.com. Thank you, Gary Kent. Thank you, Iran. Todd, appreciate it. We're going to be back again 6 p.m. tomorrow, 1170 a.m. KCBQ. Have a great night.
All right.